Hello, hi everyone. Pleased to be part of this important meeting. Thanks for inviting me in. My name is Ali Ciger. I work for Pfizer as a commercial director. My current role is around the launch of the COVID vaccine. However, previously I had extensive responsibilities with startup collaborations as well. So I will be talking about commercialization of digital therapeutics and trying to give a perspective of pharma and startup partnerships. Let me start by where we stand, right? This was the healthcare budget allocation of 2018, pre-COVID, so things have changed quite a lot. But let's see where we are, right? The medication is normally where we belong as pharma, but obviously there are diagnostics, preventative care, and digital health, which we as pharma work very close with, but maybe not close enough, right? So let's take a look into the future and let's look how things will change, or things are expected to change in the next decade, right? So it is expected that the share of medication will stay more or less the same. You would realize the healthcare spend per capita increased quite significantly, but the main growth comes from diagnostics, preventative care, and digital health. Diagnostics goes more than 8 times of 2018 levels. The same number is more than 4 for preventative care, and around 4 for digital health. But again, this is based on a report pre-COVID. With the current acceleration, with the current pace, definitely the numbers will be more than what we see right now. So this shows just the acceptance and the need for all of these, let's say, areas for which I don't think we have any luxury to ignore and to stay away from, right? The acceptance and growth of this digital health solutions definitely open up an area of collaboration between pharma and startups. So let's first look at the business models of pharma and startups, if there are any similarities, right? So I'm kind of oversimplifying, but the overall business model of pharma is based on R&D mostly. There are quite a lot of assets in phase 1 for which they get the funding they need. Couple of them move to phase 2 and 3. Now they have, let's say, bigger forecasts, and they are close to launch. They require more investment, but still they are risky bets. And then once a product is in the market, so it used to be the blockbuster age. Now some claim that it's over, but still I think we all know that whether it's called a blockbuster or something else, the product in the market is what pays the bills, right? So that money can again be routed back into the R&D machine overall, which is overall more than $100 billion a year, the total R&D of pharma. So let's look at how the venture-backed startups work. As you will see, the colors are different, but the idea is almost the same, right? There are a lot of startups. They are funded either through angel investors or through venture capital companies, first through seed rounds, and then a couple of them grow and enter into Series A, B, C, which require further investments and follow-up. And the naming changes, so they don't call it the blockbuster, but now they have the unicorns. So the power law still holds, right? I think that's the bottom line. Those two business models seem to be very different, but I would argue that they have quite a lot of similarities once you take a step back, right? But we always hear that, sometimes collaboration between pharma and startups are very complicated, and it's like water and oil, they don't mix well, which is correct, right? So I say they're similar yet so different. So I just put in, for the sake of simplification, two arguments that we hear the most. For example, pharma says that the startups keep changing their direction, their goals, their business model, and how they want to get there, which is a valid argument. For startups, it's how they pivot. It is expected. They have to do it to survive. Versus once you talk with a startup and listen to their experiences, how they try to collaborate with pharma, you always hear that the pharma is too bureaucratic, it takes ages for them to decide on anything, there are multiple layers, etc., which is again needed, because I mean these companies are listed and they do not want to take any risk on compliance, etc. So I think those are just different perspectives, and not necessarily these should be showstoppers for any kind of collaboration between pharma and startups. And I would argue that digital therapeutics have the opportunity to bring the best of these two worlds, right? So again, it's like the digital therapeutic is something that could bring in, for example, the scientific rigor of pharma, the generation of evidence, whether it would be for clinical trials, it could be virtual, but still solid, robust trials, or real-world evidence, right? HCP outreach is a strong muscle of pharma, like similarly payer agreements. Versus, I think pharma has a lot to learn from startups with respect to user-centric design, improving the product in an iterative way, listening to the consumer and engaging with the consumer. So really, I think there is a unique opportunity with digital therapeutics to bring a best of these two worlds and to improve patient outcomes. So I will wrap up with just a couple of suggestions, or more of maybe experience sharing. I think the most important thing is to keep the partnership at eye level. It's not like the big pharma talking with small companies, or I think it's just we should stay at the same level, and it should be one team working towards the goal. It's not like two separate teams collaborating on for a limited amount of time. Literally, I think the feeling of one team and having a shared goal is very important to make it work. Horizon, I think time horizon is very important. So pharma generally tends to look, quite long term, 5 years, 10 years. We should not miss today if we do not agree on the forecast of year 6, versus startups tend to, move fast and, just go along with it. And sometimes they assume that we will figure it out. It doesn't work like that either. I think having a really both of the horizons is very important in these partnership discussions. Fourth sounds simple. I don't think it's easy to do. I don't think you can over communicate here, right? There are some intricacies in both pharma and startups that other parties may not understand. For example, budget cycles are very important in pharma. Leadership presentations, like how this project will be perceived by the leadership, etc., are important. Versus for startups, like the founding rounds or like communication with other pharma, etc. These are things that can easily be missed, but I think there is no over communication in any of these aspects. And the last part is, this is going back to where we have started, right? This is where the healthcare market is moving towards, and I think both parties need each other's expertise and drive. So we shouldn't forget that this might be the opportunity to improve the health outcomes for that particular therapeutic area. So that was my overview on the pharma startup partnerships and how to commercialize these products and ideas. Thanks again for having me, and I wish everyone a great rest of the day and a successful Congress. Thank you.